The MTG podcast is a virtual space for women and men in the tech and creative industries.
Tune in as we put it all on the table, sharing authentic life truths as we sustain and empower each other in search of our tribe.
We're more than a designer. We're more than our name badge. We're more than the work we produce.
Welcome to the More Than Graphics podcast.
We're that tribe.
What's up? We're doing some things. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah. I gotta stop you right now. That intro, top-notch butterscotch. I'm looking back on everything I've ever done in my life, and I'm like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm so sorry to cut you off on your intro, but I'm sorry.
Oh man, I love it. No, please do. Internet, this is totally a free vibe. Welcome everyone to the More Than Graphics podcast. I'm Danielle. I guess I founded this little idea that we should have a conversation in and around women in tech and the creative industries, and thus here I am, 5 seasons later, over 100 episodes into this wonderful journey that we call MTG, More Than Graphics. And I'm really excited about this conversation today because the theme is purpose, and purpose just has so much open dialogue. It has so much deeper reflection than the face value that we give it. And I am really excited because we have such an amazing guest specifically for purpose. And this is really where it gets really beautiful. We're going to dive down deep here for a little bit. As we talk about purpose, I really want to bring up this idea, okay? And I'm going to tell you right now where I stole it from. I stole it from DexstarMedia.com. I love the fact that right on the homepage of our guest, it talks specifically about purpose. Purpose has always been the best reason. The oldest known painting is the shadow of someone else close to the artist. A simple application for the sole purpose of preserving their likeness. Can you vibe with that? Short answer, yes. Yes, I can. I really love that as we dive into this purpose, wherever you are in listening range, whether that's literally at work today, whether you're in commute somewhere, like you're heading somewhere, or if you are definitely just sitting in your car or listening to this in a small place, wherever you are in this kind of area, I want you to really take in the words that are being spoken today in regards to purpose, because again, it creates a more of a mental conversation with ourselves, more so than it does with anyone else. And that's really the purpose of the More Than Graphics podcast is to create that safe space for women in tech, is to create that safe space for women creatives who are looking for more options, more opportunity, more inspiration, and of course, education to level ourselves up to be better versions of ourselves tomorrow. So in saying all of that, I want to welcome today's guest, which is Dex Duff. Dex is owner of Dexstar Media and host of the Black Business Podcast. He is based in Atlanta. And of course, this is all about his digital marketing consultancy. And he's, of course, a podcast producer. This is why we're so close. He is a graduate of the University of Colorado with a BA in film. So Dexstar Media is a purpose-driven marketing and media company dedicated to providing solutions for small and medium-sized businesses, whether it's creating a landing page, on-site SEO, reputation management, lead generation, or podcast production. You will find Dex guiding clients to achieving their ROI while illuminating their business. When he's not working, Dex is losing his voice, cheering on 3 boys in their various sports or clubs. Woo! Sounds a lot like me. He wakes up every morning looking forward to handing his wife a cup of coffee and a laugh to start the day. Welcome, Dex.
Thank you so much. That was, man, you really threw me for a loop with that, with your little bit of homework, man. You threw the pop quiz right in my face. That was great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that intro. That was beautiful.
Absolutely. I got to do it justice. I mean, which is so funny because we say similar things to each other all the time. We just want to do it justice. We want to say the right things and encourage all the right feels. So as we kind of talk about this purpose, I am really excited about this because, again, it just has so many different layers. I love that you put this statement about purpose on your website. Was there a reason like behind that besides, obviously thinking about the deeper reasons why we create?
Yeah, a lot of my clients, especially the new ones, I really have to educate them as to why I'm doing one thing versus another. Where they're like, "Well, I just want advertising," and I'm like, "Slow down, killer. Let's get your page up to speed so you have the best representation. You don't want your page to look like MS Paint. You don't want Comic Sans. It's just not going to cut it. Let's go ahead and let's update this a little bit. Let's put your best foot forward." And that then they start to buy in a little bit. They start to understand like, okay, you do this first, do all these things first, then once you get the eyes on you, you basically have on your best, your Sunday best, So yeah, that's what I do.
I love that. I love that you say Sunday best too, because I feel like that has so much people understand that, right? Visually, we're thinking, our best dress, our best hair, our best selves, right? Are out Sunday best. And
Yeah.
so in a lot of ways, you do that for so many different types of brands and podcasts, is bringing out the best parts of themselves so that people can better connect with the brand. So I'd like to think of that as a little bit of a podcast wizard, a strategic wizard, if you will. We put terms like that out in the world because we're just, naturally the blurred that we are. And I love the fact too that as you talk more about purpose, it clearly becomes very passionate for you. I mean, even when as you speak, you get very passionate about talking about purpose and why it's driven so much for you. So I kind of want to ask our first question, which is, how do you define purpose?
I define purpose as the reason for doing things. All right. We could sit there and walk down a highway, but why are we walking down a highway? Is it to get away from something? Is it get to something? Do you just need exercise? Whatever it is, I really try to instill people like, if you do something, do it for a reason, especially with my knucklehead sons, all three of them, shout out to my boys, Andrew, Juicebox Jack, and Daxton. Love you guys.
Oh, hi, boys.
Oh, and of course, a shout out to my lovely wife. She's so amazing. I don't know how I got lucky enough to have her, but bro, my wife is the best, hands down. First, second, and third place. You can retire the category. She's the best. She really is.
I love it.
Getting back to purpose, I do things usually because I don't want to oversell people. I don't want to if I get somebody a landing page, I suggest SEO. If they don't want SEO, they don't want SEO. But I do let them know, like, listen, your competitors are constantly putting this up. They're constantly changing and doing different things to leverage themselves up a little bit higher than you. And if you're not in that first table of Google, you're not in the conversation. The best place to hide a body is on the second page of Google because nobody goes there. You know what I mean? It's I know that joke is recycled, but you know what? It's still true. But the truth is, though, the truth is, if you're not in that conversation, how are people trusting you? I had one guy who's a plumber who if you just look through maps, he was like the 27th person when it came to maps in his area. And like, listen, I have 27 other people I can call. Unless they're all not available, I'm not coming to you. I'm not giving you that call. I'm sorry. And he's just like, well, yeah, I need to. I was like, listen, you're good at plumbing. Stay good at plumbing. I don't want you to have to think about that. You make money, fixing sinks, things like that. You don't make money trying to get more customers. Let me take that off your hands, because in the time that it would take for you to learn this and be good at it, you're missing a lot of money in your particular field. So yeah, that's how I sell them on it.
I love this. You're right. It works. That's right.
Yeah. Hey, either you understand it or you don't. I do my best to communicate. Don't get me wrong. I do want to interject. I had this one. I had this lunch that I was doing for a client that I was talking about when we were before we were recording, and his daughter's boyfriend was talking to me about his finance business and what he does, and he wants to do more social media stuff. So I gave him a little freebie. I'm like, listen, here's what you want to do. Just shoot a selfie video saying, hey, this is why I do this. this is why I help with finance and I help people get into this mindset. This happened to me. I want to help other people. And all you're doing is you're putting your story out there. You're giving a little bit of authenticity, which the internet loves authenticity. And you're putting yourself out. You're making yourself vulnerable. People will identify with it. The people that don't aren't going to waste your time. So it's a win-win for everyone. The people who do will vibe with you. They will vibe with you. So
I
that's how
love this. I love that you say authenticity. That was like my next, like, kind of, focal point was purpose. Excuse me. Purpose can foster authenticity. Often when creatives are aligned with a purpose, they are more likely to create work that is authentic and true to themselves, right?
That's absolutely no question about it. It's, I was bringing up the example of, do you remember Dogface?
Yes.
Yeah. And I saw all the trending videos about him and I'm like, where's all this coming from? And then I saw him and I realized in that little bit of time of him on a skateboard, drinking his cranberry juice,
Yes.
singing that song, he was in that moment. And I hate to keep reusing this, but he was the vibe at that moment. And everybody identified with that. And the internet is starving for authenticity. Look at how often, social media influencers will find what's trending and redo it so they can be in the conversation. That's not original. Following somebody else doesn't make you a leader. Right. You going out and being a leader makes you a leader. And just sometimes you just got to be vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like I will vote for the first politician that will curse on TV. I curse all the time.
Yes. Yes. Hell yes.
Yeah. Like, dude, like, why aren't you mad? I'm mad all the time. I don't pay that much in taxes. I'm mad all the time. But, I guess that's neither here nor there. But you're probably going to want to cut that out. That was a little bit of a rant.
Oh, no, there's nothing unpurposeful here.
It's a therapy for this guy. Just put a microphone in front of me. I'm all about it, man. All about it.
I love it. So again, kind of going into the focus of purpose a little bit more. Like, again, we're driven by the things that we're passionate about. And I love the fact that you are giving, real client examples of how you've been able to help people better define their purpose or even find it. So that's kind of my next question for you is, where do you find your purpose?
I find my purpose normally after a cup of coffee. And when I actually sit down and think, I will figure out this is what excites me in the morning. I like seeing the look on a client's face when they first see a landing page, or they see their numbers come up, or they see what people are saying about their business, or they basically get a better understanding of what's going on in the realm of online, especially when it comes to not just marketing, but branding and how people see them. Because they're too busy running a gym or trying to start a radio station or trying to sell insurance or whatever it is that they're trying to do. They're good at that. Let them be good at that. I enjoy helping them be their best selves, letting them be good at what they do and allowing them to be themselves. And that's part of the reason why I get up in the morning, I guess. But that's the main reason why I do what I do is I really enjoy it. Even when it comes down to the podcasting side, I keep learning. I just keep learning and my mind is blown every time. And I haven't quite delved into the video side of podcasting on for my particular show In the Black. But I look at your intro for the show and I'm like, all right, I said to myself, I have got to step up my game. I've got to be creative, Kentucky Creatives quality. Yeah, I shouted it out. Kentucky Creatives quality. If I'm ever going to feel good about this, if I'm going to put it out there and it's going to be that good, because I'm not necessarily competing with More Than Graphics podcast, but I definitely want to show up and be within the conversation of like, yeah, she's cool. So by proxy, this guy's cool. So
I love that. By proxy. Shout out to Kentucky Creatives. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
I absolutely love the fact that you continue, again, having that conversation, understanding the roots of purpose. And knowing what your purpose is, that it gives you a smile to see that everyone again is excelling in their own lanes, to know that they have a deeper sense of identity and deeper sense of authenticity when they're sharing their business, because they don't have to focus on the smaller details. They can just focus on being great in their lane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really love that. And I hope that a lot of people are understanding too how this applies to themselves in regards to being a person in tech or a person in the creative industry. You don't have to know it all. You just have to be able to understand how to hone in the things, the gifts, the talents that you have, and really make that into a full harvest situation for yourself. You may not be the best podcast editor, but you may know one. There's two in the
Hey,
same thing.
hey.
You may not know the best graphic designer. You may not be the best graphic designer, but you know the graphic designers, or you have a relation to someone who can get you there. Use the tools and the spheres that you have in order to mold your own shape. That's really the heart of this. And I really love the fact that you continually talk about that, because a lot of us, especially women of color, people of color, we struggle with sometimes getting outside of our own box. We feel like in a lot of ways, either society or the government or whatever systematic structure has forced us to be a certain way. We can't be outside this box. Otherwise, we are nothing. And that is the most absolute and deepest lie that we can tell ourselves. We are capable of anything. Technically, we have done almost everything. So we're capable of more than what we think that we are. So just for that deeper thought of resignation, when we're talking about women in tech, women creatives, people of color all the way around, we are so much more capable than what we think we are. And I really think in a lot of ways, especially for women in tech, we get really built into this weird construct of you can only be this. And I love the fact that every single guest in some way or another has simply said, no, you are more than that. And
Yeah.
you can do more than that. So, mentally in that mindset of those roadblocks, whatever those are, when we talk about wanting to have a sense of purpose, I really hope that deep down we're understanding, yes, we have a purpose, but the bigger part of that is honoring that purpose the best way we can. And that means we have to step up to the plate to do that extra heavy lifting and do the extra heavy work. The world, our maybe our spouses, our coworkers, our partners, they help to a certain extent, but the rest has to come from our sheer will to just simply thrive. And so that's really where I'm getting at in this heart of purpose. Okay, Dex, what's your thoughts on that? Because I know I just laid like a whole lot of things there.
Oh man. If you guys, we're just gonna unpack this because I'm just gonna addend onto a couple of things that you said. Relationships. Business is really about relationships. I mean, people, can I cuss on this?
Yes.
People fuck with people that they fuck with. You know,
Yeah.
that's it. Like, I try not to, go outside of my circles too much. I'm a bit of a homebody, if you'll believe it, but I really only kind of fuck with people that I fuck with, and that's it. If I trust you, I'll work with you. If I don't trust you, I will find somebody else I will trust. But that turns right back into branding. That is your brand. Do people trust you? Are you putting out a certain level of expectations, and are you meeting it? Do you have the bright, shiny colors in your play area? Do you have the best tasting cupcakes? I don't know why I said that. I must be hungry. But if you are you the best at what you do? And you don't necessarily even have to be the best at what you do. You have to be good enough for you. And if you're good enough for you and you're perfecting what you do and you're taking in what your customers are saying, you're adding to it, you're taking away things. If you're being your best, being authentic to that, again, authenticity, relationships, it all comes into fruition. You will get the results that you weren't even expecting. You'll end up learning, you'll end up being better. And man, I will be right there to help you celebrate. I will be right there to help you celebrate. I will, if you listen closely, you will hear me clapping in the background. And then if you're a Black owned business, I will definitely put you on my podcast because, I got to celebrate not just the people, but I really want to push the narrative with that particular show. And I realize I'm going on a tangent here. I want to push the narrative of like, okay, this is how we do. This is what we do. This is what we're capable of doing. And with the advent of the internet, it's been incredibly democratized. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to get passed up on a promotion from some job. You can just become a competitor to them. You know, you can just do your own thing. So yeah, I said
I
it.
love that. Yes. Dropping bars over here. I hear you.
Bro,
Okay.
you don't know. I've been containing it all week. I've been containing it all week.
I love it.
I'm about to let somebody have it.
The purpose clearly drives creativity, right? Creatives
Yeah.
have clear purpose or vision, and it can inspire them, I feel like, in a lot of ways, to help them come up with new and innovative ideas that really align with the purpose, right?
Yeah.
I just love like having that level of focus energy to really help drive a sense of urgency to achieve a goal.
Mm,
And I feel like in a lot of ways we do that in, in our innate selves, in our jobs every day, whether it's a
yeah.
goal to finish a particular assignment or to reach a certain quota, things along those lines. We do that. But what drives us to do it, I think, is also those same motives that we have to take internally to level up our own selves, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's really where I'm really driving. I love this conversation just on purpose. Dex, you are such the right person for the job. I
You're
love it. I
buttering my
love it.
muffin right now. You are buttering my muffin.
Oh man. Okay, so I really want to ask, like, okay, I know we talk a lot about purpose and how it fills us up and swells us up and makes us feel, very confident. Is there a moment when purpose got you through a difficult season? And what was that like?
Oh, wow. Are you sitting down for this one?
Totally.
So back in 2003, I think it was, kind of aging myself there, maybe 2005, somewhere around there. I had gotten back from California when I had tried to, do the film thing out there, and somebody had suggested to me, well, why don't you just produce a pilot for a TV show? That never even crossed my mind. Never once did it cross my mind. And I had been thinking about it all day. I'm like, what do I like seeing on TV? What do I want to see on TV? And that night, a friend of mine had invited me to. We had this thing in Denver, these house concerts, right? So let's say the Danielle band comes into town and they play a set or at the Fox Theater. Well, maybe they'll get a hold of a fan and the fan will invite them over to a house. And then the Danielle might play an acoustic set, over there. And it's super intimate. It's so down. And it's really only the fans, like only people that truly know the Danielle band. And it's great. You can talk to the artist. It's accessible. The coffee was good.
Mhm.
And so I had a TV show based off of that. It was called BYOB, Bring Your Own Band. All right. Now,
Oh, neat.
I shot only 4 episodes. Well, the first time I shot the pilot, right? Because I realized you can't just go to a channel or a studio with an outline or a treatment. You want to show them something.
Mhm.
So I shot the pilot, and the pilot wasn't very good. It was okay, but I could see where it needed work. And the original person that I had for a host, my friend Daisy, she speaks Spanish, and so I wanted to do a version of it in both English and Spanish. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Crossover, But she wasn't bad. I realized as a host, and it was suggested to me that I needed a host. I just wanted to be behind the camera. I didn't want to do all that. And then I ended up falling into hosting because I wanted it to work out. And so I didn't get it picked up. I couldn't really get it going at first. And then I revamped it. I retooled it. And I had a friend of mine make an edit of it with a bunch of different energy drink company sponsored by so and so, because I was trying to get sponsorship money, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that didn't work out, but I did end up taking it over to Comcast in Denver, and it was the regional cable channel, and so I got it up on air April 9th, 2006, and it was on air. But the deal that Comcast gave me was you have to sell your own advertising. basically they were like, oh, free content, but you got to sell your own advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at this time, I didn't really know about YouTube, and I never really thought to put it on there. I still was in the mindset of, HD in standard definition broadcasting was way better, and I was wrong. I know I'm okay with being wrong, and I end up getting into a lot of financial issues with that, and it kind of brought me into like a dark space, and I got sick, and my dad afforded for me to move out here, and ever since then I've been sort of chasing that high that I got from it. And in the process of it, I got a call from one of my cousins, and he's like, hey, we're building a podcast studio out here, and I know you know about film and stuff, so why don't you help us out? And I'm like, I don't know anything about podcasting, but I did it because I really like talking too much, and I like asking questions, and I like learning, and that's how I ended up falling into that. And I wanted to, when I first got to Atlanta, I didn't realize how much of a Black wealth mecca it is. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, it's Black Wall Street. This one isn't getting burned down though, so yeah.
Right. We
Shout
learned.
out to Tulsa. So yeah, we learned.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I realized, because living out west, you don't always hear that narrative of Black business owners. And I want someone out there. I want another version of Dex to go out there and realize you probably shouldn't have to worry about working for someone else. If you can take the means of production within your hands, be labor, be progressive, basically be a socialist. Because I mean, hey, labor makes, capital takes, not to get political on anybody, but yeah, and you look at now, you got all sorts of people freelancing and just people doing their things. And in the process of doing that, you end up insulating yourself from so much. You get to see trends ahead of time. You get to save money. You're a little bit more dialed in when it comes to taxes. And I realized I just went on another tangent, but sometimes I drink, so which I'm weird right now. But my point is that was a dark place for me, and I got a chance to revive and see what I do. And every time I get on the mic, or every time I help someone, I just get re-excited about doing things. I'm just a kid in a candy store with learning and meeting new people and being on the best podcast to come out of Kentucky. So
I love that. Let that tail end part. Woot, woot. Okay. But I really do. I love this because I feel like in a lot of ways, people can identify with your story. They can identify going through a situation that maybe created a lot of evidence of self-doubt, maybe created a lot of depression, even created an area where they didn't feel comfortable or confident in this space. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to this story, especially in realms of tech and creatives. It's because we live that out almost every single day. We're stepping into a lot of unknown territory. And what do we do when we face things that we're not comfortable with? A lot of times it does turn inward. A lot of times it does turn into something that can be destructive to us internally. And it kind of prevents the output of work or the desire to output of work on a day-to-day basis. I feel like in many cases where we talk about purpose, we talk about the fun and the fluff, but there's also this other emotional element of confidence, right? It's being assertive to know that even in my time of doubt, or even when I feel like I have lack of purpose, that I can still get to the other side. I will still figure out the answer.
Fortitude.
There we go. Yes, that's the word. I love that. Yes.
I push that on my oldest son all the time because he has, Andrew, I love you, but you just need a little bit of fortitude, son. That's all it is. If you find a problem, you beat it down until it just don't let it beat you.
Oh, look at that. Dad wisdom, Andrew. Dad wisdom. Hold on to it.
Yeah, this is probably the only way he's ever going to listen to me, so it works out. But but yeah, it's fortitude. But because like you said, the emotionals, there's a high and a low, and riding that roller coaster was hard. when my show went down, I had anxiety for quite some time. Like I just had a rough time, and
Mhm.
I changed environments. I recentered. Then I refound my purpose. I found purpose in so many different things, and I feel like each one is tearing me away. But at the same time, I'm like, this is just too much, man. I can't not have fun. So
Yes.
yeah,
I love
so
that.
yeah, it's what I'm talking about. Like it's you do your graphic design, your creativity, but there's a level of catharsis with getting on the microphone
Yeah.
and speaking it and putting it out and just archiving your truth. I
Mhm.
mean, there's more and more podcasts popping up each day, and I realize people are just trying to commodify their expertise and their opinions and stuff like that. But go for it, man. This is America. Do it. Do the
Yeah.
damn thing. Yeah. So,
Yes. Live the dream. You can do, I mean, there is really when we talk about, boundaries and borders, the biggest ones are ourselves, right? Those are the
oh
biggest ones.
yeah. Especially coming from the Black community, we've had a lifetime of microaggressions
Yes.
telling us you can't do this or you can only do this much or whatever it is that the world's telling. And then after a while, the world doesn't have to tell you that anymore. You're busy telling yourself. And
Yeah.
when we stop and we show ourselves examples of like, hey, I can do this. What else can I do? It adds up, and you next thing you know, you have this huge pile of accomplishment and validation,
Yes.
and you can't buy an experience like that. There's nothing you can do but create it for yourself. And
Mm.
sometimes I'm going to borrow a saying from this one podcast I listened to. So shout out Side Hustle Nation. Your 9 to 5 is what keeps you alive, or is a living, and then your 5 to 9 is what keeps you alive. So,
Mm.
and it's that 5 to 9, that hustle, that getting out there. In I don't know how it is in Kentucky, but out here in Atlanta, there's every Saturday or Sunday you can find somebody on the corner selling ribs or plates, and one person has this huge truck of like toilet paper and stuff like that, toiletries. It's the hustle is real out here, and as many of those people I can help, I will help,
Mhm.
and give them the best version of themselves.
Mm.
That's how I want to help them.
I love that. That really kind of, again, you're really good at just flowing into these next topics here on when we talk about like purpose. The purpose of being is also, and this is me quoting me, the purpose of what is also because the purpose of what was. And the reason why I say that is because for me, a lot of times, as a person who's been in business as long as I have, over a decade, as a person who's built from this third generation of entrepreneurship, what I think about often is kind of where my ancestors were in the beginning, right? I have this unlimited to them what was
Yeah.
this unlimited amount of resource, this ability to create a platform that is so different than what was. And I think about that a lot in comparison to what is, right? My hurdles of today was my ancestor's dream yesterday.
Yeah.
And the fact that every day that I can step up and come to this mic, the fact that I'm able to every day be able to talk to a team of amazing women from around the world, the fact that I'm able to pick up a pencil and draw freely and make money freely from that drawing, I can be a fortitude for the future through my
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Somebody in the back of the class wasn't listening. You need to say that again. You need to drop some sage. Man, fortitude. Just push through it.
Mhm.
You're always gonna have problems, no matter what you do. And I tell my wife this, it's just a problem. I tell her that all the time. She's sick of hearing it. But you know what? It's if you when you look at it, it's just a problem. And you just break it down into the smallest pieces, and you handle what you handle, and anything that you can't handle, either find somebody to do it or you move on.
Yeah.
And that's where that's at. You have to just keep doing it. One of my sons, my oldest, he had a hard time with reading, and he'd have to read up. I told him, like, listen, just read this one paragraph 5 times out loud. So by the third time, he was fluent in it. By the fifth time, he completely understood it. I was like, listen, sometimes, some people it takes 1 time, other people it takes 100 times. It seems like your magic, number is 5. At the 5th time of reading it, you not only understand it, you're completely fluid at it. It's you have full comprehension of the text. You know what's going on, A, B, and C, the whole 9. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But if you don't do it 5 times, you might as well, it's just the same as you not doing it at all, because you don't understand the text. And if you're going to do it to understand it. Make that your purpose, is to understand it, because you're going to need this information sometime in life. And if it's not necessarily that information that you need, it's how to get that information is what you need. So you may not need to learn this one thing, but you need to know how to learn this one thing. And in doing that, you're just going to build a better version of yourself. I don't know how this podcast got into parenting, but that's how that's kind of how I roll sometimes.
It's always a good educational tool. Like, it's not the what, it's the why, right? That's what we learned from Wakanda Forever, right? Like, it's not the what, it's the why. I love that, because I think, like, in a lot of ways, education is not a method of knowing, it's a method of how to get there.
How to learn. Yeah. It's, when you look at history, for instance, the best way to teach history is why. Why did the Battle of Valley Forge happen? Or why did the border of Mexico change? Why? If you start with that, then you start asking yourself, okay, wait, why did that happen? And then minds are always blown. Ears are open, so minds can be blown at that moment. Anybody that wants to use that, go ahead and use that. Just go ahead and backlink me back to my website, intheblack-podcast.com. That's what you can use that for free, as long as you backlink that quote back to me. Appreciate the effort.
Yes, I love this. Yes. Oh my gosh, all the feels. And I love all these educational moments. I mean, this is just beautiful. I really appreciate the wisdom that you're sharing, Dex. Thank you. I've got like a random question, like really random. So, like, what do you do for self-care? Like, for yourself?
Self-care. It's funny that you say that, but I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. I always have my cup of coffee with my wife, and I really enjoy making my family breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it is that needs to be made. It's very therapeutic for me. Just being able to make them something that they like. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. My 2 youngest can be a little picky, but I really, whenever I make something, I made pho like a week or 2 ago for my wife, and I'm like, all right, try it. And I always let her try things first. She's like, oh my God, you better keep making this. And,
yes.
Not to butter my own muffin, but yeah, I can follow a recipe, dude. You don't understand, man. But I think a lot of things that we do, they revolve around, the question of work and play. And sometimes when your work ends up being your play, and I really feel like with podcasting in particular, it's so cathartic for me, whether it's my podcast or someone else's. I get to learn so much. I find myself listening to podcasts like 4 or 5 hours a day. I enjoy driving simply because I can take a little time and listen to, anything really. I'm kind of doing a podcast with one of the dads on my son's baseball team, and he has a very conservative slant, and I have more of a progressive slant. And that's been very, very cathartic. I think for not just him, but his wife, because she's like, yo, you're changing him with each one of those conversations. I'm like, bro, as long as somebody's getting something out of this, But I also get to learn and apply what I learned from that to, say, a client, or, even one of my podcasts that I do. Just each time I do one of those, I'm learning something and, getting better at it. Now, this is one of the only times I've ever been a guest on someone's podcast. And I realize how much I talk. I talk too much. And it's so different being a host than being a guest. Because normally I'm like listening closely, taking in information, looking for a segue, a circle back. It's just, there's a whole science. I shouldn't even say a science, but an art to it. And you're way better host than I ever am. But
I was blown away when I was on in the Black podcast. When I was on that podcast, I was that was the first thing that I said after our session was done was, wow, like he did his homework. That like totally like made me like, okay, like that's the bar right there. That's the bar for like what's expected in an interview. I'm like, yes, like definitely had more of a fist pump moment after a podcast recording ever in my life. It was this one. It was on your podcast. I was like, yes, like we just dropped that because you asked the right questions. You totally ironed out these segues. Like it was such a progression of conversation, and that's what made it so easy for me to talk to and respond to a lot of those questions.
Man, thank you so much. That sometimes I'm not always sure if I'm doing it right or if it's just good to me. You know, I'll come out of with your episode. I'll come out of the podcast and immediately go to my wife, Shell. That was the best one. I promise you. That was the best. Like, you say that about all of them. I was like, no, that was the best one. She was so cool. We talked about this. We talked about that. Oh my God. I can't wait to meet her in person. Shell, we got to go. Like, we got to. She's like, all right, just shut up. Just stop. So with your episode, I try and do a little bit of homework, a little bit of research. I don't want to necessarily know everything, but I want to know enough to ask the right questions. And that's something I get from my dad. So shout out, Pops. I went to a complete rabbit hole with you. And I was absolutely mesmerized with each level. I'm just like, man, she's the real deal Holyfield, the top-notch butterscotch. She knows her stuff. She's so organized. It was really a pleasure. It made all the other episodes so much better. I've even had episodes that I haven't published simply because, like, all right, that wasn't Danielle level. That wasn't Danielle level. So,
oh my goodness, like this is also a reason, a beautiful example even of purpose, right? We are both very passionate about podcasts. We're both very passionate about telling the stories, telling them fully, telling them authentically. And I think that's what makes this little chemistry on podcast so much authentic, realistic for people, is because when we're passionate about something, it's very easy for us to connect the dots, right? Yeah. It's very easy for us to go on the tangents and the rambles because we're so passionate about making sure we say the right things at the right time and all the things. But this is also a great example of what passion can do for others to create impact, right? That's really a great example of wanting to use purpose to create impact. When creatives are working towards a purpose, we can create work that is, again, a positive impact on the world, whether it's through raising awareness or inspiring action or just providing joy and entertainment. Purpose-driven work. Woo! That's really the phrase.
I'm going to add on to what you just said. It was beautiful, but I'm going to throw a little icing on it.
Okay.
When you're being authentic, you're also being, without noticing, you're being vulnerable. You're opening up someone to a moment of you. You're showing them who you are, and whether they want to accept that or not, you've already put it out there. Whether it's your best foot or your second best foot, you're putting it out there, and being able to put that out there, being able to put out that authenticity, the right people will vibe with it. And the wrong people won't. And that is the best. My mom has always told me, if being honest will do two things. It'll bring the honest people to you and all the liars away from you. And so shout out to you, Mom. But
Yes. Go, Mom.
She gets the flowers. Yeah. So but it's vulnerability again, it's that authenticity. You don't have to be like someone else. You don't have to, just be the best version of you. And that version of you is going to keep changing. I thought I had the best version of me until I saw your opening, which I am still. I'm like, man, all right, okay. All right,
I'll
okay.
teach you. I'll record a class. We'll do that. And you can watch it over and over again on how I did it.
Man, you should, yeah, sign this brother up. And but it says so much about you. It really puts that brand out there. It gives that look. It shows that you know what you're talking about. It shows that this isn't your first rodeo and you can handle it. And it's we don't have to be perfect on your first try, but if you want to get there, that's definitely one way. So
Oh my goodness. All the stars. 5 stars. 5 stars. The Academy goes to Dex. I love it. I absolutely love that as we continue to talk about this level of purpose, like the encouragement, from your life standpoint, the encouragement that you are constantly offering for people who are seeking purpose. What would be your kind of like final insight for those who are looking for a deeper purpose for themselves within the industry?
It's funny when it comes to either creativity or business in general, entrepreneurship, you end up finding problems and then you end up solving them. And if you can't find a problem within yourself, you can find one in someone else. And look how often people give out advice that they don't particularly use. Americans are excellent at that. We are the best at that. But, keeping with that, I don't always take everybody else's advice, and somebody isn't going to take this particular advice, but help someone else. And you're going to find that in that process, you're going to end up helping yourself. When we think outside of ourselves, when we think within our community and we develop our community, be it through podcasts, be it through video, be it just going to your neighbor or going to a coffee shop and waxing with the barista, you're building those relationships. You're building, and I hate to use the term, you're building that business. And when you're building that, you're finding problems, you're solving problems. And if you become really good at solving one particular problem, people are going to want to pay you for it. And you're going to want to enjoy solving those problems because of the feeling that you get from it. I love helping people. I love building landing pages. I love doing SEO. Well, I shouldn't say love doing SEO. I like doing SEO because the results I get. But I love recording podcasts with people. I love asking questions. I love learning. And what I get out of all of that is I end up being better each time. I've done a couple of episodes to where each one I'm like, man, I've got to step up my game. And yours is one. I just did one with Tamara Fowler of we have this Playtorium called Wiggle Giggle. So cool. Shout out to her. Yeah. Shout out to her. And she just taught me so much about the smallest details of things. You got to listen to it. I'm not going to give it away, but listen for bubbles. Listen for bubbles. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. So now that we have kind of uncovered and had this like purposeful journey together, what did you want to be growing up and how did you get there? Or how did you get from there to now? I guess I want to ask that question.
Okay. Are you sitting down for this one? So I want to say I was 8 years old when I was sitting there watching television and a music video came on. It was from Aha, Take On Me. If you know what I'm talking about, you already know that feeling that video gave you. Yes. Like I realized art could be that amazing and give me that feeling. And from that point on, I wanted to just direct commercials and music videos. That was it. That was the moment where I was like, I want to do that. Wow. And I never thought for the longest time I could do that until I saw an interview with Hype Williams on MTV. And he and I resemble each other. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I could see myself just like this guy. And so forever, I studied music videos for the lighting, for the pacing, just the angles. And I could tell you who the director of the music video was before the slate came up. Oh. Not to butter my own muffin, but I was that good at the time. And so out of like 700 students or whatever it was in my film school, because film school tends to break off into cliques. You got your Russian Arc, your French New Wave people. Right. Everybody's on whatever tip they're on. I was literally the only person that wanted to do music videos. And I remember people being condescending to me, but I could tell them, whatever the hell they wanted to know about it. I mean, music videos didn't end up working out for me, but I still have a lot of fun with it. So,
Absolutely. I can still see that purpose, that purpose driven. It still flows into everything that you currently do. Um,
yeah,
and I'm sure a lot of the knowledge that you have gained from film completely converts into areas where you have to show up for businesses as well and their brands. So I feel
no,
like, I'm sorry.
no, I said no question about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna actually add to that because I realized there's something I didn't tell you. I when I came out to Atlanta, I just wanted to make commercials for small businesses. Well, a lot of the small businesses I tried to work with didn't have a lot of other things going on. So, all right, I want to charge you for a music video, but your website could use a little work, or
Mhm.
you're not ranking. So, what's the point of doing all this? And I ended up solving those problems. And since then, I haven't even picked up a camera for another business in forever. Like, I don't know why, but I end up falling down this rabbit hole, and I'm just doing that now,
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the correlation is still very there. So
Yeah.
I totally see how it can. That's kind of like me with journalism. I didn't really, I used, that was my starting plateau as a double major, print journalism and technical theater. And I think a lot of those aspects of what I have started with completely convert into the areas where I'm constantly content producing, in the areas of being behind a mic and not being on a stage, things along those lines. The construct of everything comes from my ability to take a set and build something from nothing. All the
Yeah.
graphic design fields come from that element of the structure, right? The
Yeah.
construct. And so I love the fact that we can still back at our childhood and imagine ourselves being I wanted to be the Black Katie Couric, so I was in front of the big TV screens and behind the cardboard boxes and pretending to anchor whatever the news that was around the neighborhood.
Oh,
And going from that platform from my childhood and seeing how that plays out in our adult lives,
yeah.
I think it's always a cool correlation to have, especially when it comes to tech and creatives, because in a lot of ways, our past and our futures, they intertwine,
Yeah.
just in a different way. So I love how that works. Kind of like Willy Wonka vision, right?
Yes, I
Back in
remember
the
that.
day.
Little Mike TV. Yeah.
Right.
I
Yes. Mhm.
you thought you brought up journalism, and I had this conversation with someone recently about podcasts. I'm like, listen, long form journalism is going towards podcasts. Newspapers simply aren't being printed. People still want to, they want to have a deep dive into those stories and really understand what's going on.
Mhm.
And I feel like a lot of journalists are going to end up, being long form. They have a huge story, they're going to put it on a podcast and people are going to listen to it that way.
I
So,
completely agree. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
journalism
already
is
kind of
powerful.
being done now. Like
Mhm.
even in like Wall Street Journal, they're taking a
Yeah.
lot of their main top pieces of the year and they're turning that directly into long form pieces for podcasting. You're absolutely right. That's such a trend.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me, even in terms of, for me, like being a gamer, being a retro gamer, we're seeing a lot of that kind of convert in that industry as well. When there's bigger stories, there's bigger buys. When a developer buys out another company, they want to know the more of the backstory. It's going to be a nugget somewhere on the internet, but in a podcasting form, this could turn into a continual conversation of not only the developers, but the people who are working for the developers, for the anime artists who are putting some of the artwork together. Like there's so many different echoes that a podcast creates of being in the conversation, right? Even people that don't even need to technically be in the conversation, that end up showing the conversation anyway because they want to be part of it, right? Like
Yeah. Oh,
that
no doubt.
is such a very popular form, and I really do think that's going to be a trend we're going to be seeing for a long time now.
I'm going to correct you. I don't think it's a trend. I think it's an evolution. I
Oh,
think it's an
hey,
evolution. Yeah.
I like that. I
Yeah,
like
write
that.
that one down, just backlink me again. And the beauty of it is with like even businesses that do a lot of blog posts and stuff like that, you might as well just record a podcast. So you have an audio version of it and you have the text that's SEO friendly version. Then that's how I've started to end up helping a lot of other people, especially when it comes to SEO. Oh, we need blog posts. Well, what do you want to talk about? And then put a microphone in front of them. Next thing you know, they get a couple of hits off of it. So
Yeah, that's genius.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, Dex, you're a genius. Okay, how can people find you? How can they connect with you?
People can find me at intheblack-podcast.com. Definitely listen to the podcast, especially if you're a Black-owned business and you want to get on. I will help you out. You can go to dexstarmedia.com if you need help with landing pages, SEO. There's also my wife runs my Instagram now on both Dexstar Media and In the Black. So I will. Can we put the links in the show notes?
Absolutely, we will.
Yes. Links are going to be in the show notes. Reach out to a brother. Say hi. I got jokes and podcasts for you. That's it. That's it.
I love it. I've absolutely loved every second of this conversation, Dex. Like, it is absolute joy always to be able to speak with you about topics and the things that we're both passionate about. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate it.
Yay. All right. So we're going to go straight into our flash questionnaire. This is the last part of our interview. We ask you a random question. You give us a random answer back, or the first thing that pops into your head.
All right. Let's see what you got.
All right. Something new you've learned in the past year, whether a life lesson, hobby, or fun fact.
I recently learned. What did I recently learn? I recently learned. Oh God, that's such a great question. What do I learn that's age appropriate?
Life lesson, hobby, fun fact.
Life lessons, hobbies, fun fact. I learned that I enjoy coaching my son a lot. Before I only did it because you end up getting suckered into it, and any other rec coaches know about it. You end up getting suckered into it, but I enjoy yelling at the kids. All right, no, go that way. Center it. Hold the ball, and I lose my voice, but I enjoy encouraging the kids and helping them be their selves. So
I love that. That's so cute. Okay, favorite vacation or getaway spot?
Ooh, Denver, Colorado. Favorite vacation. I'm from Denver. I love going back, seeing old friends and old haunts, and that one police officer that pulled me over that one time. I love seeing all those people. I do. I'm going to add on to that. I do want to visit Portugal.
Yes.
Yeah. I definitely want to check that out. I like soccer, so there's that. But yeah, I'd say one of those two. Hey, give me Colombia. I'll take wherever.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, I'm all over the place.
All right. Well, sweet snacks or savory snacks?
Ooh, sweet. Every day, all day. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Harry Potter or Star Wars?
Star Wars. Are you kidding me?
I had a feeling you were on the dark side.
Oh, I am the Sith Lord.
Okay, digital books or physical books?
Physical books.
It's like 99%.
Yeah, it was just looking at those. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind reading an article on it. It's just something about the experience of, smelling like an old book, sitting up in a bookstore with your feet up, having a coffee, just that whole vibe, sitting there. Sometimes I like reading Dr. Seuss with my kids or whatever, but it's something about being in that moment. It's my other place. It's not work. It's not home. It's my other place. And there's a catharsis to it, just sitting there reading a book. So
I love that. You are definitely not alone. That's like 99% of all of our guests. I'm the other 0.1 or 1% that's like, oh, digital.
Really?
Yeah, different stuff for different folks. I get it.
I don't knock it as long as you like reading. I'm all about it, sister. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so if you could go back in time, where would you go and whom would you see?
Oh man, that is a great question. I would go back to the times of Mansa Musa and
Wow.
see if I could get some of that gold from him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, for history lesson. Okay, like people who don't know what that is, I'm gonna work that down one good time.
Yeah. He was the richest man ever. He was the king of Mali. It's now modern day Mali.
Yes.
And he had one time taken so much gold that he completely crashed the economy of different places that he went to because they just had so much gold. And yeah, of course, the price of everything went up wherever he went. And a lot of people around him just couldn't. It was just rough in other places. But yeah, I'd either go there or go watch Hannibal Barca, ride around on elephants and crush the Roman Empire.
Heck yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah,
Yes.
I read books.
Yes. I'm for this. I'm for either option.
Yeah.
But I do love the actual idea of, watching the fall of Roman Empire would be kind of cool.
Oh yeah. I got one more, but I want to know, where would you go back in time?
I was waiting for this question. For me, I think I would want to go back to the height of the Harlem Renaissance. I'm a huge jazz person. My children are named after jazz musicians. I come from a background of long-term music, and jazz is just a huge part of our lives. So to be able to see Ella in her prime, to be able to hear Duke Ellington in his prime. Those are Count Basie. I mean, all these wonderful, amazing Black creators that were using music as a mode of primary language. I am very much in that realm, that sphere of creativity. I am definitely not as music inclined as I used to be. But we still have jam sessions here or there in our house. So it's cool to be able to go back to that time and really kind of harness in that era.
Yeah. I think if I could also go back in time, I would either go back to have a drink with Ernest Hemingway.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's not real big. Yes.
Yeah. Shots in Spain, dude. Shots in Spain. Maybe Chuck Bukowski. I would have drinks with him. He was a crazy one. He was pretty nuts, but I bet he could fight. So I'd get into a bar fight with that dude for sure. Like, yo, let's take out this bar. Drink some me.
And watch y'all do it too.
Watch, yes. I don't know. There's so many interesting people in history that, if you had to just name one, you'd end up like me. They'd end up naming three. So there it is.
All right. For bonus points for naming more than one. Second to last question, your love language, is it words of affirmation, is it gifts, acts of service?
I guess it would be gifts technically, but I really enjoy cooking for my wife. I really enjoy that look on her face of like, oh my God, I cannot believe you made this. I love feeding her. When we first got together, and before I moved to Atlanta, we lived together for a month in Denver, and every morning I'd wake up and make her breakfast sandwiches, and she'd never been treated that way before. And we call them McDuffins since my last name is Duff.
All right, it's a gimmick. Everybody's got a gimmick. Okay, we got it. McDowell's, McDuff. Yeah, we got it. But that's super neat. I mean, definitely for any type of acts of service to anyone, I feel like there is a certain level of joy that comes when we actually are able to bring someone else joy. So I love that. I love that's your favorite, because I can totally tell that.
It's better to give than to receive.
Yes,
it really is. Like, I love seeing the looks on people's faces when I get them one particular gift, and it's just it's something. And you really know somebody when you give them something very specialized. I got my dad these pecans, these one pecans, that praline pecans, whatever. I don't know what they're called.
Yes,
brick or something. And he's just like, oh, I can't believe you found this because I love this brand. I'm like, yeah, I know. But yeah, it's something very special. It shows that you're paying attention, I guess. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay, and last question: the best part of being a grown-up.
Oh, nostalgia. Nostalgia is the best part of being a grown up.
Oh, I love that.
Because I think of all the amazing things that I did as a kid. In Denver, we'd ride our bikes around all the time, and run up to the store and hang out with my friends. And I look at all those things that I learned, and I refer back to them. I listen to music that from my childhood, and I refer back to it. And the best part about that is a song will come up on Spotify, and my sons will be like, "Oh, Dad, how do you know this song?" I'm like, "Son, this song is older than you, bro."
Right. Right. I know that's right.
Experience. Yeah. So yeah, I'm all about it.
Oh, that's a great answer. We've not yet had that answer before. So you're the first one. That's great.
Oh, hey. What about you?
Oh my gosh. Probably like, I don't even know where to start. We've got a lot. Best part of being a grown up for me probably is being able to pass on the things that we know. I think for me, like a big part of my identity is also understanding where I come from and all association to who I am, not just one particular area. And then also being able to pass on that knowledge from myself to my kids, from one woman to another, from another person of color to another person of color. Like there's so many handoffs there, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the best part for me is being able to pass on the wisdom that I've been able to acquire in my timeline, in my lifetime period, and being able to pass that down to someone else who could level up from what I discovered during that time. So,
man. Yeah. Oh, I celebrate you. Oh, that is the best. That really is the best. Man, that definitely beats my answer.
I wasn't trying. I was just like, oh, well, I mean, yeah. I kind of
sometimes you don't try. Sometimes you just succeed. That's all that is. So I'm gonna addend to that with you. I say on my podcast, each one reach one, which is a variation of each one teach one. Mm-hmm. And I feel like without saying it, you live that. You reach others. And now that you've had this podcast for 5 years or 5 seasons, you reach people, and they can always go back and get a little nugget here, a little bit of sage there, and apply it to their lives. I've referenced podcasts in the past that to where, I needed to hear that one more time because that was such a good idea, and that's what we do. If I could give to someone and it helps them, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. So yeah.
Love it. Well, folks, this has been such a treat. I have really enjoyed this little reunion that we had today. If you don't get a chance to check out Dex's In the Black podcast, go do so. Listen to my episode. You can start with me and listen to the rest of them. Because there's so many amazing, good amounts of wisdom and story collecting that you have personally done. And I just really value that. I really value telling stories authentically. And that's what this platform is engaged to be a part of. So I'm super, super excited and personally glad that it's you, Dex, that we get to celebrate a little bit today as a person of color who's in this field, who's in this sphere, putting out good work, putting out good stories, and really putting out some really kick-ass vibes. So thanks for being a guest today.
Thank you, man. I really love this experience. Thank you to your audience. Keep supporting her because she is a gem. She is something special, and she will give you nothing but the best because she is the best. So with that.
All right, y'all. Thanks for listening to the MTG podcast. Continue to listen to us wherever you used to listen to podcasts. Send us your feedback on your feedback, on Facebook or Twitter on how our life stories and virtual safe spaces are helping educate, empower, or encourage you. As always, check out our website at mtgthepodcast.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive behind the scenes moments like Clubhouse and LinkedIn audio events happening at least once a month at 8 p.m. in either medium. So until next time, friends, thanks for listening.
And just like that, the episode ends, but the convo has just begun.
Thanks for listening to the MTG podcast.
We want to hear from you. If you enjoyed our podcast, give it a review on your listening app of choice.
Continue to follow us across MTG social.
And look out for bonus content releases throughout the year. This podcast is produced by Octane Design Studios.
Until next